There is a way to create a new habit in 21 seconds instead of 21 days. And the way you do that is a technique. It's actually, there's a couple pieces to the technique.
83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business. On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
This episode is going to talk about how to take control of your life with less stress, doing more, and finding happiness. Who doesn't want that? Blaine, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Brad, thank you so much for having me on. I love your podcast. If you have not subscribed already, please do. I love the work you're doing, and I love the ripple effect of helping people be happier, right? And so I often talk about people being a day ahead, and my wife is always like, "Yeah, you're a better person when you're a day ahead, and you're a happier person." But if we can figure out ways to help people be happier, reduce urgency, get more stuff done, which usually brings about some happiness, I am all in.
Let's do it. Let's jump right in. Can you explain the concept behind the 30-minute hour and how can it transform our productivity?
Yes. Okay. So the 30-minute hour. So everything I teach is run through this company that I started in 2009 called Selfluence, kind of the art and science of influencing yourself. But the things to realize is that everything you need is within reach, right? You're already doing it, and you can master it if you desire, right? So everything that we teach fits into that. And this idea of the 30-minute hour, that's how to get an hour's worth of stuff done in just 30 minutes, right? So who would not want that? This is very powerful stuff. And it's based on the fact that everything you need is within reach. You're already doing it, which is going to be self-evident here in a minute. And you can master it if you decide to. So let me start by saying this. I'm going to give you a quiz. You didn't think there was going to be a quiz, but there's a day of the year where people get 3 to 10 times more stuff done than a normal day. So that's 3x to 10x. Now we're only looking for 2x, right? But 3x to 10x. Do you happen to know what day of the year that is?
I'm going to guess the day before Thanksgiving.
Ooh, I thought you were going to get it there. No, now that can be a good day, and it's not like a specific calendar day. It's a specific type of day, but you were close there. And once I say it, everyone's going to go, "Oh yes, that is for me." And it's actually the day before vacation.
The day before. Yeah. I was looking the day before a holiday. Yep.
Right. So the day before vacation, everybody gets 3 to 10 times more stuff done. So what I did is I noticed that was like self-evident in my own life. That happened for me, right? That happens for me every time. And actually you're kind of productive the day after vacation too. But the day before vacation, I started studying it. And I did a deep dive into what are people doing? Like, what is happening? Why is that so? Right. And it came down to 3 things. And I made a little acronym PDF, because PDF, if I say, hey, go print out the PDF or download the PDF, everyone remembers PDF. And so what that stands for is plan, delegate, and focus. And so what happens, and the way that you can start to have some, 30-minute hours, is to don't bring the stress of that day before vacation. Maybe a little bit. There's a stress curve. Like a little stress is good, but too much is your productivity goes down. But you don't want to bring the stress, but you want to bring in some of the elements from that day before vacation. And the first one is planning. So what happens is on the day before vacation, everybody really, they kind of overplan your day. So I know the world's going to come in and mess your day up. But before you start the day, I call it next day planning. People really plan out that day. So if you plan out your day better, I can guarantee you'll get more done, and you will have some 30-minute hours. And what happens is people overplan the day, and they stay much more on track because they have a plan for the day. Many people, you wake up, you have no plan at all. Well, if you just say, when I wake up, the first thing I'm going to do is this, the second thing I'm going to do is this, third thing I'm going to do is that, you will get more done, and it'll happen a lot faster, right? So planning is a big one, for people, to have the 30-minute hours. The second one is delegation. So on the day before vacation, you can't do it all. And so what happens is inside your brain, you start thinking who before the do. Because you guys, I can't do it all. I've got to find a who can do this instead of me, right? So you start looking for, because you're going to be gone, you're going to be away, you can't do it all. And you want to bring that who before do back into your regular day. So for example, I work from home, but a lot of times I have things to mail and packages, right? But if my wife says, hey, can I take that stuff to the post office for you? Okay, boom. That's my who right there, right? Or pick up stuff that I need. You start to delegate in a much bigger and better fashion. So delegation, think who before do, bring that day before vacation. And that could give you a 30-minute hour immediately if someone will take 30 minutes of some work off your plate. So think who before do. And then the third one, which is where most of my 30-minute hours come from, is focus. And you have this oddly fierce focus on the day before vacation. Now, maybe because you're going on vacation, so you could give yourself a little reward at the end of the day if you wanted. But you have this fierce focus and you become really, really good at getting stuff done, right? So the day before vacation, no chit chat at the water cooler. The shiny objects are not as shiny, right? Because you have that plan that you laid out and you have a lot to do, right? So you kind of overstuff the plan a little bit. So the shiny objects aren't as bright and you're really much better at single tasking. Well, you're better at tasking overall. And so there's three types of tasking. There's single tasking, multitasking, which sometimes gets a bad rap, and batch tasking. But my number one source of 30-minute hours is from single tasking, which means that you decide a certain period of time. Like I can get an hour's worth of article writing done. Let's say I write a lot of articles. I can get an hour's worth of article writing done in just 30 minutes if I go into single tasking mode, true single tasking mode. That's where this fella gets turned off completely. Like if it's not turned off, I can check the text messages, whatever, right? I shut down all the windows, everything on my computer that I'm not using, right? And nobody can really get a hold of me. You can use airplane mode, whatever. But I focus in on that. And in single tasking mode, I want to stay focused. So the few minutes before I go into single tasking mode, I make sure I kind of clear the decks. And what I mean by that is like I will go in my mind, is there stuff on top of my head I'm worried about, I'm thinking about? Like I'll do a little mind dump. Just let me clear it out, get it on paper so that I can forget about it for that time. And then if you single focus, you get in the zone. Now, sometimes I'll work more than the 30-minute block because I really get in the zone. But if I work an hour, I got 2 hours worth of stuff done. But you really have to push everything aside and just focus on the one thing. And if you could the more you can do that, the better you get at it. So the first time you're going to have distractions, right? They're going to come and, here on my desk, I have all these scrap pieces of paper, right? And so when that idea shoots into your head, don't try to push it back out. That's not going to work. Write it down. Just take it down,
push it aside. Yeah.
Write it down, push it aside, and then go right back. And you're going to find you get better and better. Now, science, the great thing about brain science is now there's a part of the brain that's responsible for giving you the power to single focus. And a lot of people with ADHD and these other things, that part of the brain is compromised in some way. But a lot of times, all the multitasking you do kind of weakens that part of your brain. So the more you do it, it's kind of like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get, at that single tasking mode. So if you take nothing else away from this, is take the most important thing in for your business and for your personal life and go into single tasking mode for it. Now,
every day, take the one thing that's the most important thing in your business or your personal life or your spiritual life and focus on that one thing, doing the PDF method. And I guarantee you're probably going to see some amazing results.
100%. And if you can keep it that 20% that produces 80% of the results, right? Or if you get real fancy, the 20% of the 20%, right? So you get down to that 4% that makes the big difference. Yes, that makes a big difference.
So Blaine, you mentioned the word habit, and you have this concept around this 21-second habit that challenges the traditional notion that it takes 21 days. What's the science or the philosophy behind this approach?
Yeah. But before I do, let me just finish up on the tasking side, because I just want to cover, sometimes people think multitasking and batch tasking. That's kind of part of those 30-minute hours. And so multitasking is bad if your brain is switching back and forth. That's not good. But if your brain can be doing one thing and your body can be doing another, that's good multitasking. So I have a Peloton bike back here. I can ride that Peloton bike and listen to the Limitless You podcast or listen to your podcast, right? I can do those two things at the same time. That's good. Or for me, like I love family time, but I love exercise. So we taught the family how to play tennis. So we go out and play, 30 minutes of tennis. I got 30 minutes of exercise and 30 minutes of family time, hour stuff done, 30
Love
minutes.
it.
So
Try
that's
pickleball if you haven't.
I like pickleball. I haven't played it a lot, but I do like it. And as I get older, I believe that's going to be the sport of choice for me. And then the last part is just batch tasking. And so that happens a lot. On the day before vacation, you're not going to like go run an errand, come home, run an errand, come home. No, you're going to batch all the errands together. And whenever you can batch things together, you're going to have 30-minute hours, like batching all your computer work, batching all your phone calls. Anytime there's a context where you can bring stuff together and batch it. Or my favorite is batching interruptions. And I watch business owners, they're like, yeah, Blaine, I'm constantly interrupting. I'm saying that's ruining your 30-minute hours. They go, yeah, you're right. I said, why don't you batch your interruptions? And they said, what are you talking about? I said, you may be already doing this, but you've got to get better at it. And that is just set the office hours. So you say, look, I'm coming in. It's from 9 to 11. I'm in single tasking mode. Don't come in here. Right. But at 11, I'm going to come out for 30 minutes of questions, interruptions. What do you need kind of thing. And just that alone really, really turns around. So anyway, that's just wanted to close the loop on the 30-minute hour. So habits. Now, it's kind of a catchy title here, the 21-second habit, right? How to create a new habit in 21 seconds, not 21 days. Now, brain science, it actually takes about 63 days to have a habit be able to run on its own, in your brain. Like the neural pathways become this thing called myelination. They become insulated, and you can do it like without thinking about it. It takes a long time, but we kind of hack that. We kind of hack that a little bit, and there is a way to create a new habit in 21 seconds instead of 21 days. And the way you do that is a technique. It's actually there's a couple pieces to the technique, but a lot of times people will say that they're not good at new habits. So I don't know, Brad, how about you? You seem pretty self-disciplined, but are you pretty good at creating new habits?
I'm pretty good at it. Yes.
All right, and let me ask you, do you brush your teeth?
I do, and I'm trying to floss every day, but I don't. But that's a habit I need to be better at.
Okay, so that's good. So we can even work that habit through this. So I start with brushing your teeth because nearly everyone, unless you have dentures, you brush your teeth. And then I say, well, when's the last time you went a week without brushing your teeth? Never, and so you're a habit master. And I want people to know everything you need is within reach. You don't have to get anything new, right? And you're already doing it. So for example, like brushing your teeth, you're already doing that. And the way that I discovered this first part of the 21-second habit, the first part is something I call habit linking. And so what happened is my wife, she used to have, luckily past tense, nearly daily migraine headaches. And so the doctor said, hey, you got to fill out this log, this headache log. Like, what did you eat? What do you think the triggers were? Like, what was the weather like? What was the barometric pressure? I mean, it's a very detailed log. And my wife would do it for a couple of days. Then she would lose it. Then she couldn't find it. Then she'd have a migraine and I'd ask her about it. Wrong move. And then one night I was watching her brush her teeth. And I said, honey, why don't you, let's do this. Put the headache log underneath the toothbrush and the toothpaste. Put a pen right there. And when you brush your teeth, 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night, fill the log out then. And so she went from can't do it 2, 3, 4 days to 90 days in a row without missing it because she did what I call habit linking. She linked the new habit to a habit she was already a master at, right? And so by doing that, the habit is kind of effortless and there's no willpower required. Now, there's a couple of other ways to kind of turbocharge it. And so I like to add in the next part of that. So first is habit linking, and you're doing stuff you already habit master at: waking up, getting dressed, having coffee, like all these things that you can
playing pickleball.
Playing pickleball. You can link it to that. So that's the first part. The second part, though, that makes it work is if you can add in urge surfing. So urge surfing is where you use psychologically, you have this urge, this desire to want to do something, and you kind of surf that energy to get you to do the new habit. So for example, when I discovered that with my wife, the habit linking, I said, look, there's two new habits I want to start immediately. Let me test it out. So one was I wanted to do this Bible app, and then I wanted to take a mind shower every morning. Every morning I want to take a mind shower. I want to, just like I wash my body every day, I want to wash out my mind, pour some positive in. And so what I did is I said, okay, what could I habit link to something I do every single day, right? With no willpower required. And it came back to this. So every morning.
Oh, he's holding the phone for those of you who are listening.
Yeah. So every morning the first thing I do nearly every day, the very first thing I do is I open up that phone. And so what I did is I moved all the apps off the homepage of my phone. I just put the two apps, this Bible app, and then Insight Timers is the, what do I use for a mind shower, but it's kind of a meditation app. And I said, look, before I can do anything else on this phone, I have to do those two.
Wow. I love that, Blaine.
And so what was great about that was I was surfing the urge, because really, why did I open my phone? Did my kids text me? My kids are out of the nest, right? What's happening with my investments? New orders came in? What's happening in social media, news media? Like, what happened while I was asleep? I have all these things. I sent emails to people. Did they email me back? I have all these desires, all these urges to want to open that up, and I would surf that. Now, I like, to spend 10 minutes in each, but if I'm under the gun, I can do 3 minutes in each one of those, so I can get it done quickly if I need to. So that key is urge surfing. For example, I had this one attorney and she's like, Blaine, I'm not doing the daily planning. And I know you said that's like key to having a good day. And so I said, yeah, Ann, what's the first thing you do every morning? No willpower required. She goes, I make a cup of coffee. And I said, okay, you have the fancy machine like my wife. It grinds the beans. It smells really good. She goes, yes. I said, good. All right, listen, what I want you to do is take a pad of paper and a pen, and I want you to put it on top of the coffee maker. In the morning, you can brew the coffee, smell the coffee, but you can't sip the coffee until you start the list for the day, right? So now her desire, her urge for that coffee gets her to start the list every single day. And that brings in the third key, right? So it's habit linking, urge surfing. She wants the urge for the coffee. But the other thing is a cue or a trigger to help you as you go to the habit that you already a master at. You need a cue or a trigger to remind you of that. Right. So if you're going to do something like every time you brush your teeth, you want to meditate or have gratitude, have a little Post-it note or a sticky note, put it on the toothbrush. You need some cue to remind yourself during those initial days. Once you get a few weeks out, then you kind of, your brain starts to wire it in and you're good. And so that's the third part. And the last thing is, leverage does work, right? So carrots and sticks. Both are. So a carrot meaning like, hey, if I do my mind shower for, 10 days in a row, I'm going to give myself a reward, right? And if I don't do it, could I have some kind of a leverage or penalty? A lot of times spouses, ask them what your leverage should be. They have no problem figuring that out for you. So my wife will be like, oh yes, if you fail, you do this, you wash the garbage cans, you do all, she has a long list of things that penalties she could have for me, which is fun. You want to try to, keep it as fun as possible. And then once you get 3 or 4 days in a row, you don't want to break the chain, right? So it becomes very powerful. Like the apps I mentioned earlier, today was like day 2,345 or something days in a row that I've done the habit of the Bible and the mind shower.
Wow.
And they actually track that for you, right?
So
that's kind of,
I've got so many questions, man. I gotta, this stuff is fascinating. So let me keep going. And this may be my favorite question of the episode. Could you share the insights from the lost pages of Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorite books on the planet, and why understanding these might change someone's approach to wealth, success, and if you can throw in happiness?
Yeah, 100%. So I love the book Think and Grow Rich. I was lucky in college. I read it in college, made a big impact on me. I met my wife in college. And it also, it got me to realize that how much my happiness was in my control. Right. And so that really opened up my mind, because Think and Grow Rich, he talks about money, but it's riches of any time, of any kind, right? Contentment, peace of mind, happiness, good relationships, like whatever you want. It's kind of a systematic approach to that. And so for me, I didn't have big riches. I had good success, but not like, multi-million-dollar success, initially, but I got successful enough that I bought one of the original 5,000 copies of Think and Grow Rich, which is right here. Actually, I got it over here on my table here. Is right here. So it kind of looks like this.
It's way thicker than the ones I've read.
So I get this book and I open it up and I look at the first page, right? And the first page, I've never read that page before. Now, at this point, I've read the book 15, 16 times, right? And so I never read that first page, nor the second page. And it turns out that in this book here, and you can find out, it says here, what do you want most? That's the very first page. What do you want most? And so if your book didn't have that, I found out probably 90% of the people read the wrong version. And so what happened is the other things I noticed about this version of the book was that Napoleon Hill, he was a big shouter. He shouts. So he's using all caps in very strategic places to shout at you, right? So when I was in college, I read this, actually the one I
That's the
read in college.
version. So he's holding up the normal white paperback version that's like a fourth the size of the other one.
Well, and this is actually the one I still have it from college, which was back in the 80s. I'm dating myself. But in any case, I noticed there were all these other differences, between the two books. Now, most of it is the same, but those differences made a big difference in me. And when I applied those first 2 lost pages, which I can share kind of the main points of that, I was on a plan to have my business be worth $1 million. I thought it would take about 5 years, and it happened in 5 months because I did what was on those 2 pages, what I call the lost pages. And the 2 big takeaways, that first page says, what do you want? The first thing he says, don't read my book until you know specifically exactly what you want. And then as you read it, apply it. And then he tells you how to read it, right? No more than 1 chapter a day. So he has these different rules, but you can follow those rules. But you really want to get specific. And it doesn't have to be a big super goal. You can start with the smaller, the smaller weights in the gym, right? You don't want to go right into the 500-pound lift. But whatever, but you have to figure that out beforehand. And it can be, financial, but it could be something else. It could be spiritual. It could be happiness, peace of mind, something that you desire strongly. So he's going to put you through the test in there, and you're going to see, is your desire really high enough? And most of the time, if you're not achieving what you want, the desire isn't high enough, or it's not the right goal for you. So the first page was saying, look, bring to your reading very specifically what you want. Not like, hey, I want to make more money. No, like really specifically, like, I want to be making an extra $10,000 a month, by this date. Very, very specific. That was page 1. The second lost page talked about how to read the book, no more than 1 chapter, per day. But then the other key was, he said, you can't read it alone or it won't work. So most people read the book alone, right? They read the book alone. And so he outlines how to be, I think, called a study club, how you need to study and read the book.
Right?
What's that?
Does he call it a mastermind? Is he one of the guys who coined the term mastermind years ago?
Yes, he coined that. And he talks about mastermind as a strategic alliance. But in reading the book, he called it kind of a study club, but where, yes, you're reading with other people. And then he goes through a specific way you could do that if you wanted, but reading it with other people where you talk about the chapters in relation to, I call it your bring about statement, right? So, thinking roots, what I have this other other statement here, what you think about, you bring about. So whatever your bring about statement is, you talk about the book in context of that with other people who then, like you just said, that mastermind principle, right? Where the 2 minds come together, they create a third mind that's more powerful than the separate minds, right? So like you have, 100 ideas on happiness. I have 10, right? But when we come together, we don't get 110, because when I hear your 100, I come up with like 30 more. When you hear my 40, you come up with another 40. We come up with 200, 300, some much bigger number, right? So there's that.
So what did you do specifically in your business to accelerate that value growth in those first 2 pages of the book? What did you do?
So I got real specific. Well, I kind of was already specific about what I wanted, right? But I got super specific about what I wanted. And then I did 5 book studies back to back with different people, right? Some were bigger ones with like 50 people, and some were smaller ones with just 5 people. But I did what he said to do, and kind of went back to back, in studying the book. And the other thing that really helped me was reading kind of the original version with all the shouting, right? And it's kind of interesting is that I was getting that version of the book. It's called the facsimile version, where, they give it to you. All the bolding is the same, right? And the shouting, the capitalization, all that is in there. But then the guy who was doing that, he passed away, and I couldn't get the book anymore. So luckily it was in the public domain, and I ended up publishing Think and Grow Rich book study edition. I published that book because I couldn't get the facsimile version with the lost pages and all that other stuff. But anyway, that also did help me.
So just give us the single most important concept you took out of that book for someone who is trying to approach wealth and success and happiness in a better way in their life.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the end, I came up with this thing, WYTAYBA, right? What you think about, you bring about. And to me, that was the life-changing, that was the life-changing thing for me, is that I realized that my thoughts, what you think about, you bring about. Now I'm not saying like the law of attraction. I'm not, that's, neither good nor bad. I'm saying what you think about, you bring about, that there's an action component, that if you concentrate and you think about something over and over, you can bring it about. You take action based on, the things that your mind brings to you. Then that's a big life changer. And I think what happened for me too was the other biggest breakthrough probably of my life from that book led me to understand that it's not only what you think. Like my mentor is this guy Jim Rohn. I got to work with him personally before
Wow.
he passed away, and he's a great guy. And he says it's not what happens that determines your life future; it's what you do about what happens, right?
Yeah.
And where he talked about being a little sailboat and wind blows on everybody, and it's the set of the sail, right? That determines where you end up in life. But I realized that it was something before that made the difference. And what it was it was your pre-thinking about what was going to happen. I call it the lens of the future. And to remind myself, I have like a looking glass that I keep on my desk. But that lens of the future ends up dictating how your day and life goes. Like your happiness is dictated merely by the lens that you look through, not by the stuff that happens on the
Yeah.
outside world. Like, for example, let's say that I say, Brad, I have a crystal ball here, and I realize today's going to be a really bad day for you. I don't know why. I just got this. It's going to be a bad day. Now, what happened is I put that lens in, right? I put the lens in, and you're a little scared. Now, your physiology and your brain chemistry, you're a little bit scared. You're walking around, you're in the big city, and you step out, and you're almost hit by the car. And you go, darn that Blaine, if he wasn't right, I was almost killed. This is really bad. What's the next bad thing that's coming? Now your brain chemistry is shot, your physiology is scared, and you're probably, something else bad is going to happen, right? And so it wasn't so that's physiologically, like how your brain chemistry, right? That is all dictated by what you were thinking, right? Now, if I drop a different lens in, I said, Brad, if I were you, I'd buy that Powerball ticket today because something really good is going to happen. This is going to be one of the best days of your life. The world doesn't change. You walk out in the street, you're almost hit by the car, but this time, because of the lens you put in, you're like, well, I'm saved. God has some reason for me still here. Blaine is right. Oh my gosh, this is the best day of my life. Now your physiology is different, your brain chemistry is different, and you're out looking for the good stuff. And you're finding the good stuff because you put the lens in.
Yeah. So what you think about, you bring about. Everything is revolved around thinking. And for 47 years, I didn't live my optimal life because my thoughts that I didn't even know were controlling me. So if you want to know if you have these self-limiting beliefs that are hidden in your subconscious mind, do yourself a favor, and your family and your business and your health a favor, and go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz and take this 3-minute, it's only 12 questions, and you will know if you have some of these self-limiting beliefs that are potentially holding you back. So Blaine, as we are closing up this amazing show, tell us, what is it that you do, and give us you've worked with a lot of people and had a lot of success. Tell us what you do and give us like one of the client success story that kind of, rises to the top.
Yeah, sure. So I am currently I'm America's only chief results officer. So I've been helping people get results, and I was working with a mastermind group, and they said, "Hey, you're our chief results officer." I said, "Hey, I like that." So I got the registered trademark for that. But basically, I like to help people take control of their lives by taking control of themselves, right? And get more of whatever they're looking for, in life. My niche has probably been business owners, and helping business owners move from being behind to being caught up to being ahead to being a day ahead. And so in the beginning, I talked about being a day ahead. I know in my own life, when I'm a day ahead, I'm a better person. Like the world gets a better version of Blaine, and my happiness level is way much higher than if I'm behind. I'm not as nice. I can't help people as much, and so that's primarily what I like to do. And I put out articles, but I have super results days, and I have trainings to help people move through that. For example, one of my now dear friends, Phil, he's a veterinarian surgeon. And so when we first started working together, he lives his life through his email. So he uses email for all of his appointments and things he's working on. And he had 2,000 active emails, and he couldn't break the cycle. He'd get rid of 100 and he'd have 200 new ones come come in and get rid of 300 and another, and he couldn't do it. So we started working together, and it took us a year. But he went from being behind to being caught up to being ahead to being a day ahead. And now his email hovers between 0 and let's say 30, right? Instead of 2,000. But he's a much better person. and he's enjoying life. And you know this. You all know that, when you're ahead of the game, you feel better, you have more time to give to other people, right? But you've got to reduce urgency. And you have to make some difficult choices, and you have to say no more often. And there's a lot of, I'm a very tactical person. There's a lot of practical and tactical things you can do to begin moving that. But that's primarily what I do is helping business owners to get more done.
I love it. How can people reach you?
Yeah, the easiest is I did do a TEDx talk about WYTAYBA, which is here above my head in my background. So if you just go to BlaineTEDx.com, so BlaineTEDx.com, you can sign up for that TED talk. I think we've got a couple 100,000 people have watched that. It'll give you a technique that you can use to basically take whatever that I told you, that bring about statement, that key goal, and how you can remind yourself of that goal 100 times a day effortlessly, and really start to program the subconscious mind. So we talk about that in there. And then you'll be connected to me. You'll get articles. And if I can help you in any way, you'll have my email, and we reach out, and I'd love to help you if I can.
I love it. I was one of the 200,000 people that watched it. And I actually think that's how I found you. It's an amazing TED Talk. So do yourself a favor and go watch that. Blaine, amazing stuff, man.
That's life.
Yeah, that's life. We could talk. We could literally. We'll have to do a little editing there.
Leave it in. It's human.
We could talk for literally 24 hours. The stuff you talk about is absolutely amazing. So thank you for sharing all that. You are a wealth of knowledge. I know you help people in so many different ways. So, go check him out on that website that he just mentioned. And this concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. I am on a mission to help 1 million people change their lives radically by getting rid of those self-limiting beliefs stuck in their subconscious mind. So I can't help 1 million people alone. I need your help. So I spend a lot of time and money on this show. If I could just ask for one thing, if you like this content, share it, rate it, review it, whatever you can do to get the word out, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Blaine.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And the bad news is time flies. The good news, you're the pilot. So pilot well, and we'll see you next episode.
Love it. Until next time, love heals all.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.